Welcome to a very special Makeup Tip Tuesday. Okay, wedding season is just around the corner, and we have had a lot of brides coming in and asking how to do their own makeup for their wedding day. And we realized and dawned on us that we actually don't have a dedicated do-it-yourself classic makeup how-to video here on YouTube. So we're going to dive right in to do that. Okay, so as you guys know, I am MisMacK. I'm just gonna kind of give you a little history about myself and why weddings mean so much to me. So I have been a makeup artist now since I was 19 years old. I have done thousands and thousands and thousands of weddings. And it can get really confusing if you're doing your own makeup when you're trying to find how to do it if you are a no makeup person. There is so much on the internet, and it's really hard to kind of decipher what is like timeless classic, what is trends. I don't want to look cakey. I don't want to not look like myself on my wedding day, and that's where we come into play. So we still offer makeup services here, of course, at MisMacK. I am retired as a makeup artist. I am now have my full-fledged CEO hat on for MisMacK and educating. So I am here to help to guide you to simplify makeup applications using, of course, MisMacK Clean Cosmetics that I created with two female Canadian chemists. So, and the big thing too with MisMacK is that we're professional performing. Means we're going to hold up during light, during heat, during sweating on those hot summer days and still, without, to the naked eye, look like you're wearing a lot of makeup. Okay, that's my biggest thing when we're doing makeup artistry and when I teach my students is we want to make sure that when we're doing makeup, for me, it's timeless classic, meaning we're not following a trend, so it's not cut crease, it's not over contouring, it's not highlighting on the nose, and I'll explain why when we get into part 2 of skin. So it's gonna be a 2-part video. First one's gonna be about eyes, next week is gonna be completing it with the skin, okay? But it can be really hard when you're looking at trends. The last thing that we want is we don't want you to look back 10, 20 years from now and be like, oh my gosh, I do not look like myself. I hated my makeup. We want to make sure that we're bringing out your beautiful natural features, and then it's timeless classic. It's going to stand the test of time. So let's get into it. There are going to be quite a few products that you are going to need when you're doing your makeup professionally. We want to make sure that it's going to photograph properly, and it's going to be a little bit more, I would say, if you are a no makeup wearer, even if it's a no makeup look, there's still things in the face that we need to contour, that we need to bring out for photography so you don't look flat or washed out. Let's get started. We're gonna do our eyes first. When you do your eyes first, it's gonna save you so much time. It's also the hardest part of your makeup application. So let's get it done fast, not fast, but like let's get it done right away so then the rest is like icing a cake, and then you can do your hair and you can be ready for your big day. So, and yes, this is actually my veil from my wedding 17 years ago. So I haven't put it on since. This is so cool. And then my earrings are actually from my grad. So this is a very cool video. Okay, Depuff and Prime. So products that you're going to need. Depuff and Prime Eye Gel. This is your eye primer. Body Glow Oil is our skin oil and our skin primer. So this one is going to prep your skin for your foundation with MisMacK. It's also going to give you a beautiful glow. It also has zinc and titanium oxide in it. So we're kicking like 3 birds with 1 stone. It won the Global Clean Beauty Award for Best Sun Care in the world. So when I do my brides, I like to apply this first, let it marinate into the skin while I am doing the eyes. Okay, so you're gonna melt this in, massage this into the skin. Okay, avoiding the eye area, because the moment you put an oil on there, your makeup's not gonna hold up. So you wanna make sure that we're just avoiding the top of the eye. We're just kind of going right onto the orbital bone. We're not going up underneath, and then blending down. All right, Depuff and Prime Eye Gel. This guy is a staple in your makeup bag. Okay, we're gonna prep the eye, so we're gonna shake it, we're gonna roll it. Of course, this one is my one that I do here, so it only gets used once a week. And she has had a glow up. She looks like this now. Okay, so we're gonna start, and we're gonna roll top, and we're gonna roll bottom. Okay, we're gonna let that sink in. So you can feel when it goes on quite wet. We don't wanna go right into the makeup until this balls down. I'm not gonna use my finger to blend it out because I do have that oil in there. Don't do that, just be patient. Have a coffee. Okay, let it dwell down. Going into our art shadows. These are the colors that you're gonna need. So staples, salmon, or if you're a bit on the fair side, canvas. So when I am in my winter, salmon goes really peachy on me. When I'm my full 7 in the summer, I can do salmon right onto my eye. But if it looks too peachy, you're gonna mix canvas into it. This is the base of our shadow. Really important step for having the longevity of your eyeshadow throughout the day of an event. With our all over shadow brush. So for the beauty newbies, our brushes are labeled so you know which is which, okay? This is the classic palette. No matter what wedding I'm doing, no matter who sits in my chair, it's always the exact same colors. It's just different in terms of the highlight that we're doing. So depending on your flowers is what I'll always ask, or whether you're a gold person or if you're a pinkier person, it just depends on the highlight. The rest is exactly the same. Unless I have more mature women, brides in my chair, I would stick to more matte when we go to the highlight because we don't want to accentuate texture, but that's the only thing that changes. Crazy, I know, right? So we're gonna start now with salmon arm and we're going to load up our brush. So even I'll actually scrape using the back of my brush. I'm gonna loosen that pigment and I'm gonna pick it up. Okay, this is the only time that I'm gonna say you want like so much on that it's gonna fall. So we're gonna pick it up and grab your mirror. Make sure that you're in natural light. So standing by a window or like in your kitchen or in your living room is best. Okay, we're gonna start right into the center of our lid. We want this to be really opaque, meaning no skin shining through. Now your brush stroke is really important. I'm not just feathering it on. I'm pressing, see how I'm like moving my skin? So it gets into all those nook and crannies and then stopping at my last lash. Okay, and we're gonna go in, we're gonna reload, and now we're gonna blend this down to the inner corner. So opaque meaning solid. There's no skin shining through. And if you have extra oily lids, do a security of extra shadow into that crease area. Okay, now we're gonna start to work our way up. So in light strokes now, still pressure, you can still see my pressure is quite important. I'm pressing and blending this up to my brow bone, up and away. Now, if it is a little bit peachy, so you can see how it's gone a bit peachy there, I'm gonna add a little bit of canvas and I'm gonna go over top of it. Now, canvas is like really intense. Really make sure that you're blending that in because it can go quite white. But this is really important that you're using a matte. So if you don't have MisMacK, if you're new to this channel and you're just learning about MisMacK, or if you're needing help with makeup application and you have a different palette, it's exactly the same. You're gonna make sure you're using mattes, okay? Matte is your best friend when you're prepping your canvas. So you can see I'm like prepped now. That's why we actually called canvas. Canvas is because it's like prepping your canvas. You make sure no skin's shining through. I'm gonna add a little bit more canvas into here because ideally we're looking for about half a shade lighter than your natural skin tone. Like so. Now we're gonna do the same to the other side. So I'm really gonna pick that up. I'm gonna do exactly the same steps. So if I had to lighten this side, I'm gonna do the exact same application technique that I did on this side. Because what can happen if you don't, it can look unbalanced and this one can look brighter. So ideally is to remember the steps that you did and replicate it on the other eye so it's balanced. So I started with salmon arm, going all the way. Really, you can see if you have a bit more texture to the eye, how I'm circling this into the crease. And I'm going in different directions, back and forth, up and down, to make sure that it's all solid and opaque. We don't want to see skip lines in this. And then we're going up to the brow. Now your fingers are your eraser tools, okay? If you're out here, don't use the brush because one, you're gonna get oil onto it from our beautiful Body Glow, and two, it's just gonna keep moving the pigment. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna add a little bit of canvas, just like I did to that other side, right on my lid space, and I'm buffing it in circular motions. Okay, don't overthink this step, guys, okay? Just get her on, right? The rest is when we come into the technique, but get her on, make sure it's opaque, no creasing is happening, you're getting in there and you're blending it all. If you need to apply more in that crease to set it, really important, okay? And don't be afraid to do a trial run on yourself. Definitely do that, right? Okay, now that that is on, we're gonna get into adding depth back to our beautiful features. So the product that you're gonna need is shade. So shade, AKA Cam Lips with MisMacK, and your small crease brush. This is the same technique that I do on everyone, okay? So you're gonna pick it up. Where you start is really important. You wanna remember that your first touch point is always gonna be your darkest. So this is where we don't wanna start in the center. We wanna start on the outside edge of the eyeball, lining it up with our last lash. We all have that little fold here before the lid space to the crease. We're going to basically hug behind the eye. You can even feel it there. You can feel the brush onto the top of my eyeball, and then the other part of the brush is actually touching into my brow bone. And we're going to push this over, following that natural line, that natural crease into, right, that natural fold right there, pushing it over and then coming down. So step one. See, if I did step one and I go normal, it's pushed behind my eye, but you lose that shading. So now we're going to lightly bring this up over that hood so it blends off right at the edge of the brow bone, okay? Your blending technique is really important. So you wanna make sure that you're not doing a rainbow blend, okay? I teach this in all of our lessons, when all of my students, any of our client lessons too. This is really important. What can happen is you can do a rainbow blend, okay? And that's where the lowest part is on the bottom, highest part is in the center, and then lowest part again in the inner. We don't want that, it droops the eye. We wanna think like a windshield wiper. So starting higher on the outside, coming down into the inner corner. That lifts the eye, okay? Now, if you are a no makeup wearer, this might just be enough for you. But if you are wanting more intense, it's exactly the same step. You're just adding another layer. That's it, okay? Exactly it. So remember, first touch point, we're gonna pick up, starting in that same, leaving my lid space bare. See, my lid is bare there. Going onto that line, and then blending up and out. Okay, now we're gonna do the same to the other side. If you blend this too far up or you're seeing an edge, have a security large crease brush that's clean, and then you can just buff that edge out. If you're ever doing your makeup and you're like, ooh, I should really blend that edge, you should blend that edge, okay? So really going in and just buffing it, okay? When in doubt, have a clean large crease brush, and that will do the work for you. So now we're gonna go back and we're gonna do the same to the other side. Now when I do my left side, I hold my brush like a chopstick. I take my elbow over my chest, I'm coming down. So see, my angle is very similar to the angle that I am on this way, onto my right side. The angle of your brush and your starting point is really important because remember, your first touch point is always gonna be your darkest. We wanna make sure that that touch point angle is exactly the same. So we're following the curvature of the eye, okay? We're not coming straight on because when we come straight on, we're further into the eyeball and that's gonna be your darker spot. We don't want that. We want it to be out here. In little strokes, we're pressing in, coming down, and then like a sunset blend, we're coming up and down, blending it up and out. So remember, MisMacK is pure pigment. Our art shadows, pure pigment in a pan. This is also the same color I'm gonna use for my contour. If you are a ginger or a light brow girly, or guy, you can use shade, this one here, into your brows. Forewarning, it does go warm in your brows, so I'm gonna be using Stone / Smithers. and then up and out. So your brow bone is a really important. See how I'm not going onto the brow? Okay. When we did our first step of prepping, it does a couple things. It preps our canvas. It highlights areas that we already need to be highlighted once we go in and create our contour, okay? It's a trend to highlight this area with frost. Remember, our goal is to timeless classic. So when you look back 100 years from now, you're gonna be like, damn, I looked good, and it is still relevant. Okay, nice and matte. If you do not have MisMacK and you're doing this application, make sure that the crease is also matte. Very, very important. Why? Because shimmer has a texture to it and it has a light reflectant. Anything that has a light reflectant is gonna push texture forward, okay? Even if it's a dark shadow that has a shimmer, it's still gonna push that texture forward. We're gonna add highlight after to the points to the eyeball to push those parts forward, but the rest we want it to be like a frame and contoured back, okay? Really important to playing with the light here and how it reads. So this is like, if you ever look on Pinterest, there's always a couple that I always see like for decades. And it's that classic looking down and you see that beautiful highlight. It's darker on the outside. You have that beautiful light and the light's hitting right in the center of the eye. It's exactly what the look that we're creating. This is how you do it. Okay, last part to the depth of the eye. We're gonna take that same brush and we're gonna go into Cocoa. So Cocoa here, which is also Nanaimo, staple, matte, rich brown, same brush. You're gonna pick up just with the tip. This is important that we really focus on this step. We're going to look at our last lash here, okay? You're gonna go in, line this up with your last lash, and we're stamping the outer corner of the eye right onto the lid. So you wanna think that that brush is more into your lashes, and you can feel the edge of your eyeball. If you feel your bone in your starting point, you've gone too far out. Remember, it's like shading a ball in school when we're in art class. And all we're doing is we're tapping and letting that brush work for us. And then tapping that edge up and out, okay? That's it. If you want more intensity, you can add more depth. So that's, again, picking up, starting in that same spot, right into those lashes and building up. And then tap, tap, tap. You can see I'm not wiping or swiping, I'm not pushing that product in, I'm letting that brush work for you. We're tapping, it's all about that tap motion. And then tapping and blending this just a little bit into the crease, enough so when you look straight, you can see it up over, but above it is that first step that we did with the shade, okay? Or the crease step. So we're not taking this all the way up, it goes about halfway into your crease, okay? And then it fades into it. You wanna think that everything is blurred together, okay? That's why tapping is such an easy technique. So now this side, I'm making sure that the angle of my brush is lined up with the same direction of my eyeball, okay? The same shape, tapping. And you can see how I'm bending that brush. I'm being quite aggressive so I can get that product in, get the pigment all into those little nooks and crannies, and then I'm tapping up and out. Now, if you put too much product onto your brush, this is when an edge can happen. That's when we take our handy dandy clean large crease brush and just tap and buff the edge. Notice I'm not going down here. I'm just tapping the area that I want blended. And then we're going to make sure that our intensity is exactly the same as the other side. That's it, okay? Whatever is left over, we're gonna lightly buff, starting from the outside edge of the lower lashes in. This is what I call my cheat code. I use whatever's left over after this step to contour the lower lash. Connecting what we just created down. I'm not adding more product, I'm using what is already there. If you don't do this step, the eye looks closed off or not finished. So we wanna make sure that we do that. All right. So if I had a mature bride in my chair, I would do this a different way. I would be using canvas, or I would be using salmon. If you like mattes and you want that matte finish, you would do this exact same step with either canvas or salmon. I am going to use Gold Dust. Gold Dust is our most popular highlight color, and I'm gonna show you with the detailed brush. So you can see how many brushes that I'm actually using to create my bridal look. The bundle of the brush bundle is still 40% off. We will always have that bundle. Heck of a deal to make sure that you have all of the tools that you need to be able to execute this properly, because we really do use every single one of them. Detailed brush, small and snappy. Can you hear that? Small and snappy. Small and snappy is going to apply pigment intensely. Not great for blending, great for applying pigment, and then using a softer brush to blend the edges. This one is also great for highlight. Now we can do this in 2 different ways. I can't edit this. Lulu, go back. Okay, back to our regular scheduled programming. Sorry about that. Lulu is here, and I did not block her off. All right, okay, where were we? Detailed brush. Okay, we're gonna do this in a few different ways. So if you like highlight and you like that contrast, we're gonna use this brush damp. If you don't like that, we're gonna use it dry, okay? And actually I'm gonna do it on 2 different eyes so you can see the difference in how we can get different applications with this guy. So the 2 highlights that we use here is Petal, which is this one. So Petal, pinker highlight, a little bit cooler. And then we have Gold Dust. So Gold Dust, okay, has that golden undertone. This is the most popular one. Okay, when we are using it dry, we're going to apply, tap. We're not just gonna go and dust this on, okay? We're gonna line this up at the center of the eyeball, okay? And we're pushing down, okay? It's like a swipe. It's like we're creating a cat eye. So starting at basically where your line is, as if your eyeball is hugging behind your eye, top of the lid, down in the center. And then we're going to buff this edge into the outer corner and down into the inner corner. So see that? It gives that really beautiful glow, okay? I like to leave this part a little bit more matte and then go in and add a little bit of shimmer just to that inner corner. I just find it creates that extra little depth if you leave this part matte, like so. Okay, that's dry. When we use this wet, you would go right into your sink. I have a water bottle. We're gonna spray it. I'm just gonna kind of dampen that off because we just want it to be damp. We don't want it to be wet. So if you like an intense highlight, same thing. You can see how more intense that is. And then tapping into the edge. Now, because our products are so pigmented, be very careful when you're blending this guy when it's wet. One, because we don't want to see an edge, but it will actually cover up your beautiful shading that you just did on this side. So I'm gonna wipe this off on the back of my wrist. Make sure you're not dressed yet when you do this, okay? And we're going to buff around the center around that edge. Usually, I wanna say about 99% of the time, we do this wet. Okay, it just creates that extra pop, that extra punch. Inner corner though, we keep it dry. We're just tapping it up. If you, for some reason, keep going or you create an edge here, let it dry, go back in with a little bit of shade and sort of buff that over. Because you can, if you do it too high, you can lose that depth. And I'll make sure you do the same to the other side. You could also get really fancy and we can do Peachland over top, which is Petal. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So exactly what I just did, I'm just gonna add a little bit of Petal. You can have warm and cool tones into your makeup. It adds a little bit of, I don't know, character, I would say. So I'm just adding this to the center because it is a lighter highlight. On right in here. And then kind of neutralizes it out. So if you're finding it's too warm for you, go in with a peachier tone and those will neutralize each other out. And that is a timeless classic bridal eye. We do this on every single person. Shadow is one of the hardest ones. Next, we're gonna get into liner, okay? I'm actually gonna break this up into 3 different videos so you can break it down and it can be simplified. So this week is all about the eyes, how to create that eyeshadow for bridal. Next, we're gonna go in and do liner and lashes. Okay, so thank you so much for being part of this. I hope that this helps. I hope that breaking this down into 3 different videos makes it really easy for you. So follow for next week. Practice this one before your big day, okay? Practice the blending. Practice with the right tools. Remember, if you go like this and you look in the mirror and you see an edge, that kind of gives you a sign that you need to blend it. So practice this blending before we move on to liner.